And welcome to the show, Dr. Shivani. Such a pleasure having you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I've been wanting to speak to you about the doshas in Ayurveda and about the circadian rhythm and women's bodies and metabolism for such a long time because I am really at that prime age, that many women may think it's taboo or embarrassing, but in reality, it's part of maturity. And when I connected with you a couple of weeks ago and mentioned to you about what I was going through of waking up in the middle of the night, and you just had such a simple solution for me when the other doctors like told me something else, which I don't really go by too much of the Western, but it was literally such a gift. So please tell everybody what your journey of awakening was and how you became um, just introduced to Ayurvedic knowledge.
Absolutely. So I grew up in Houston, Texas to an Indian family, and we'd go to India every single year. And it was really beautiful because I lived in these two dichotomous worlds. In the West, everything was treated one way by my pediatrician. And every time I went to India, my grandma would just make me hinka pani, or she'd make me these little elixirs and teas, and they were equally as effective. And so I just constantly lived in these worlds. I studied Christianity and Hinduism at the same time, education in one place and Sunday school in another. So I've just always lived in two worlds. And I got chronically sick in high school. I would get these chronic colds. Pediatrician would just consistently say, here's Augmentin, here's antibiotics. By college, I realized that the reason I was sick all the time was my gut health. I finally did enough research to understand. And I remember once I was in India, I was disastrously sick. They were going to hospitalize me, couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And we went to this doctor, Dr. Gupta, and he's like, here's your prescription. And it had 12 medications on it. And I had this voice that just came screaming out of me that was like, no, we're not doing this anymore. This is not working. None of this is working. We have to try a different way. And so I looked at him and I said, please explain to me what you're about to give me. And I was like, I'm not doing any of it. And you need to drop that antibiotic down a couple notches. We don't need to explode my gut. And you haven't even talked to me about a probiotic. So I looked at my parents and I said, enough is enough. We are in the land of yoga and Ayurveda. But we have
Mm.
not looked around. This is ridiculous. And so we went on this journey. My parents, thankfully, were successful, but somewhat burnt out entrepreneurs at the time, at that point in their career. And so they humored me. And we went from South India to North India. We went to every detox center. We let them do everything to us. I had all these gurus who I got to go sit at their feet and just absorb the knowledge. And as I sat there, I was like, wow, I didn't have to go through that health journey. Could have kept my gut health and had an immune system this whole time. And you guys are carrying golden nuggets. Like, you have treasure chests of gold sitting here in India, and you just are not marketing this right. You are not sharing this wisdom in a palatable way that's simplistic enough that people can just use it. And that's where I come in. My brain is very good at synthesizing large volumes of data and then figuring out from it, what is that thing that each person needs? And so that was really my journey. And once I discovered Ayurveda, I was like, that's it. Everyone has to know this. Everyone has to understand it. So I did my master's in it. I did my PhD in it. And now I'm just a evangelist of this way of life.
No, that's amazing. What you did your master's in Ayurveda?
Yeah, so I did my master's in Ayurvedic sciences. And then for my PhD, I had learned in
Hmm.
herbology class about all the spices. And I was like, wow, the super spices of Ayurveda are really the superfoods that here in the West, we don't use. We don't reach into that toolkit. And when I learned that turmeric was just that powerful, I had known it, but it's kind of like Ayurveda laughs at everyone because we're like, if you had known the whole time what turmeric could do, you would have used it that much more. And so I fell in love with turmeric, and I did my whole PhD dissertation on turmeric, the spice. And so after that, my family was like, you really do believe that turmeric can do everything for everyone. If you're going to say that, did we freeze? So my family said, if you're going to say to everyone on earth that turmeric is the best thing since sliced bread, you should create something. So I embarked on this whole journey, creating a supplement line and a tea line, kind of really pulling those treasures from Ayurveda together in a potent form that we can use.
segue to when I called you and I gave you my symptoms at that moment of time. You said, I have the perfect blend for you.
Yeah, yeah. To me, that's the fun part. I get to sit there and
Hmm.
play with teas and herbs and design things for a whole group of people. And then I get to see what that impact is and what it does in the body.
Absolutely. So, for those that don't know what Ayurveda is, can you elaborate on that?
Sure, I always forget to do that. So
Yeah.
Ayurveda, Ayurveda is an ancient system of medicine from India. It's an entire system of health and healing, and it encompasses detoxification, nutrition, herbology. It encompasses the circadian rhythm, the rhythm by which we live in tune with nature instead of against the rhythms of nature. It's so much about a way of life. It's a preventive way of life. And within it, we teach doshas, which are our individual mind body constitutions. And we really teach you a way of life that's quite different than how you live now, but it can be integrated pretty easily. And once you do that, you're truly going to prevent inflammation, prevent all these things that are causing so many of the modern diseases that we suffer with.
Absolutely. Inflammation for me is synonymous to the word stress,
Yeah,
just synonymous.
absolutely.
And there are certain inflammatory foods which aren't spiritually or physically or nutritious, right? And if you put that into your body, it stresses out your body.
Yes.
So yeah, that's pretty amazing. It's also in terms of like circadian rhythm, how do those herbs that the Ayurvedic herbs, and there's so many of them, right?
Yeah.
There's like thousands.
Yeah.
So how can you discern? I know this is an ancient science and this is like herbology, and there's a sacredness to this type of practice as well, but how do you discern which goes with which? It's like this alchemy of Ayurveda.
Yeah, Ayurvedic alchemy is my favorite thing to really tune into because
Hmm.
each person is so individual. We are bio individual. We need personalized medicine now more than ever. I mean, so much of my research has been around how can we fuse functional medicine with Ayurvedic medicine because each one alone isn't really enough right now. But when you fuse them, you've got that perfect mixture of diagnostic and factual data on what's going on inside the body. And then you've got the Ayurvedic tools to pair with it. And then you can measure the results. I'm very much into showing people that we can measure what's going on. And we can also measure that we won at the battle or at the health journey. And so when it comes to reaching into Ayurvedic herbs, I think we have like our favorites that we know work successfully across the board, like ashwagandha, powerful adaptogen. 95% of people can probably benefit from it. Same with turmeric, same with ginger. So it's really about pulling those together in a way that will
Hmm.
support most people. And then from there, if I have someone who's individual who's like, okay, it's menopause, I'm suffering. Okay, we have the ones that are most successful. We have Shatavari, we have Tulsi.
What is Shatavari? You said it before. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, Shatavari.
Which I probably have taken it, but I probably didn't even know.
Yeah, so in Ayurveda, we love to synergistically blend the herbs together to create that symphony of results for people. And
Hmm.
Shatavari is like the queen of adaptogenic herbs for female reproductive organs. So when I had a whole crew of people complaining to me about menopause symptoms, they were like, I'm having these night flashes, I'm having hot flashes, night sweats, all the things. What do you have for that? I put together Shatavari, 3 types of Tulsi, and put it together in a tea. And it's been so supportive because these herbs work. They're Ayurvedic, they're ancient, they've been around for thousands of years. We know them to work beautifully. And for me, I like to bring them together in a synergistic way. Put it in a tea where it's easy. You can just have your cup of tea twice a day. You get your support, and then you can keep moving. So to me, whether I put it in a supplement or a tea, I'm always trying to see how can I give it in the right potent form to drive a big result in the body. And then if you're one of those people who has an intuitive ability to kind of tune into what works with you, then we can have
Hmm.
that conversation of building a pharmacy instead of a pharmacy of drugs. That's FARM, like a natural pharmacy in our home. I call it like a mindful medicine chest. Could we all have this, chest of herbs and tinctures and teas and supplements in our home where if we feel a little something, we can just reach into there. It can have essential oils as well. So we have such
Mm-hmm.
power to build the toolkit at home that we need so that we are our own healthy pharmacist in a sense, who can pull together the things that work for our bodies and keep us the most balanced that we can be.
Using what nature has given us
Exactly.
from birth.
Exactly. For centuries.
Could any harm be done if it's a wrong herb?
You know, of course, every body is
Mm-hmm.
different. But what I have seen is there's so many herbs. It's like if you use basil. Do you think anyone really has a basil allergy or issue? 99% of people don't. Yes, there will always be that 1 or 0.01% of people. So it just depends. Like I meet some people who are allergic to black pepper. And that to me is shocking. As an Indian, I consume so much pepper every single day, all day. I'm a pitta dosha. I want to consume everything burning hot and spicy. But, each of us has our little nuances. But I would say 95 to 99% of the time, the major herbs and spices we're reaching into are fine for the majority of us. They're plant-based medicine. They're food. So
Right. And how long does someone have to take it in order for then it to metabolize in the body for you to feel good? Like I take triple at night. I take ashwagandha during the day. So these are certain herbs. There is a certain mushroom also that I take. I don't know the name of it, and um I'll tell you that afterwards. But that also like helped with certain inflammatory issues that that the body, I won't even like own it, that the body was going through. And
sure.
for me, it took, I want to say, a few months. I felt the effect immediately, but it took a few months for it to kind of like for me to feel stable. And what I realized as well is that it gave me clarity in the mind afterwards as the gut clears. It's
Yes.
wild,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a very big concept out of Ayurveda. It's like a key concept. We teach about the digestive fire and how there's this
Hmm.
fire in the digestive system, right in the gut. And that fire is what's going to be our metabolism. That's going to help us digest and absorb and assimilate all the nutrients from food. And what's cool is modern science is publishing and proving everything that we've taught in Ayurveda. And so gut brain connection, gut brain axis, the fact that the gut lining is where the majority of our immune system resides.
Yes.
This is such
Yes.
powerful science. So us honoring our gut and healing it with simple natural herbs is really just us bringing it back to homeostasis. Then we can build it back to its highest and best strength. And then, of course, the brain is going to work better. Our energy is going to work better. Every cell in the body will be more supported because it'll be absorbing the nutrition better from what we're eating. So there's so much power in building herbal formulas or, playing with the different herbs where our body gets support, our body gets to get back to homeostasis and its healthiest, and then it's going to function at its best. And so that's always my goal, is to show people, if you know your dosha and you understand how to balance all past health conditions, you should be able to go forward independent and feeling your best. Like I feel better with each decade. I don't feel worse with each decade. And a lot of people complain. They say, gosh, I'm aging. I've got brain fog. I'm fatigued. I've got joint pain. I wake up achy and stiff. And I'm like, guys, this is not
Mm-mm.
aging. This is inflammation. So this is
Yes.
inflammaging. This
Yes.
is just inflammaging. And you
I
should
love that
consider,
word.
yeah, it's a powerful word because we're blaming aging when in fact it's just inflammation running rampant. And so our job
Yes.
is invest in gut health, invest in the foods we eat. Like you said, cut those inflammatory foods that are pretty poisonous to the system. And all of a sudden, we'll be vibrant again. And Ayurveda is about mind, body, spirit alignment. So we have to get the body back to homeostasis so the mind is clear, so we have that best and purest spiritual connection. It's all tied together.
Besides cutting the food that isn't nutritious, how about cutting the people that are nutritious as well? Because
True.
that also, the ones that you can, causes and is a catalyst of certain inflammatory markers, as well as the way that we go through certain outside stresses. Some things we can avoid, right? Or that, and other things are very close to home and can affect cortisol levels. Then thereby the next step is causing all of these ANA stuff and inflammatory markers that a lot of people have. Because what I realized also, Shivani, is that one out of, I mean, I'm completely like making up one out of three. I don't know why I'm saying that, but one out of three clients that I speak to or that I do sessions on, and I've done thousands upon thousands and thousands of readings. I've been doing this for 20 years. And I read the field and I read inside like the body in a sense. One out of three, if not sometimes two out of three, has inflammation in the body and has been quote unquote diagnosed with an like basically an autoimmune type
Sure.
of, right, here in the United States.
Yeah.
More than I feel the European clients that I work with, the Eastern clients that I work with, it's here in the United States. Why do you think that?
I think we are at battle with ourselves on so many levels, energetically, with our consumption of social media, constantly being presented with everyone's best, and we're energetically in
Yeah,
competition with it. Emotionally, like you said, sometimes we're not holding good boundaries with family, friends, and associates, or in our work. Food certainly has a piece in that, but also health and well-being is not just food. It's exercise, it's movement, it's our relationship to the sun, it's circadian rhythm, it's how we consume what we eat all day. Ayurveda teaches us more about how to eat than necessarily what we eat. And that's a pretty powerful statement, because if we're just gonna, chug
yes,
our beverages and foods unconsciously all day, we're basically poisoning the system constantly and never detoxing it out and never nourishing ourselves. And so I see autoimmune as rampant, but I do think that if we just learned the Ayurvedic self-care rituals, Ayurvedic circadian rhythm, we could turn off so much of these autoimmune type battles that the body is having. And then we could just step forward in our best health. And I've done that. I had an autoimmune condition. I was like, nope, we're not doing that. I don't take on those
me
labels.
too. Me too.
I'm happy to address an issue that comes up, but there's no reason to accept that as like a sentencing that we have to live with. Instead, let's look at, okay, where are my behaviors not in alignment? Let me make some behavioral changes and let's release that.
Absolutely. So let's rewind for one moment. Before we get into the circadian rhythm of Ayurveda, can we go into the core of individualized, personalized programs and how you go about that with the doshas, and what are the different types of doshas? How does one find, you know, what specific dosha they are?
Sure. So on my website, I put a dosha quiz because everyone's always curious. It's like any
Yes.
self quiz that we take to understand ourselves better. So I
Hmm.
put that there at shivanigupta.com. So anyone can go and take it. And a lot of people will reach out to me and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you understand me so well. How do you know all this? I'm like, it's not me. This is Ayurvedic wisdom. Ayurveda taught us
Hmm.
that using the 5 elements, we are all comprised of these 5 elements from earth, and those elements make up the doshas. And so a vata person, people in the West pronounce it vata, a vata person is air and ether. A pitta person is fire with some water. And then a kapha person is earth with water. And so thinking about those elements, if each of us falls into one of those buckets primarily, and then we have a secondary dosha, although we carry elements of all three. I'll take pitta as the first example. A pitta person is going to be fiery. They're going to be ambitious. They're going to be a go-getter. It's someone who wants to go out there and accomplish a lot. They're always on fire. Their mind is on fire. They're creators. But pittas have their downfalls. Pittas can overheat, burn out, They can explode
Mm.
because they're always ignited. They're kind of like a volcano. If they're not managed well, they will explode upon the people closest to them and sabotage all their own relationships, and or they'll burn out in their work. So Pittas have their own protocol to stay in balance and stay cool, calm, and collected. A Vata person is more air ether. So that's your thin and wiry crew. They're energizer bunnies. They can go all day without eating. They can survive on like juice and nuts. And I always laugh. I'm not a Vata, but I wish I had that appetite. I have a Pitta appetite. Like I have to eat. I have like that hunger. But the Vata crew is the artists. They're the creatives. They are running from project to project, but they also have a tendency to not finish things. And then they look like flakes, when in fact, their creative mind
Mm.
just moves a mile a minute. So you can't blame the Vata. The Vata has poor sleep, poor digestion at times. So they need a whole level of support to really ground them and hold them to earth more, building more routine and ritual, which is hard for them. But then they stay more balanced and they're able to finish their goals, cross their finish lines, and that kind of thing. And then
Mhm.
you have the Kapha crew. Kapha crew is strong, of the earth, big boned, have more round features. They have a very loyal, giving, nurturing Mother Earth type personality. And so Kaphas can be blamed sometimes for being lazy or lethargic, when in fact, they're just one thing at a time people, but they're that turtle. They cross their finish lines. So supporting Kapha by really inspiring them to move and eating certain foods that are lighter can help them feel more balanced, and like they're able to compete in this world that's expecting kind of the pitta dosha energy out of everybody, which is a little bit
Totally.
yeah.
Pitta dosha magnified. Absolutely. You
Yeah,
know, wow. What do you think I am?
I think you're a pitta. I think you're a pitta vata, or you're a vata pitta.
I'm a pata. Yep. I'm a papa. I'm a, that's exact. I'm a pitta vata.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even
that's
though your
definitely.
body would say you're more vata, your energy
Yes.
holds as more pitta.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I love doing that. I love meeting people and knowing, like, I can tell immediately usually what their dosha is and what their secondary dosha is. And then I'm like, I also know what's going on with you and I know the best way to balance it.
oh my God. But it's great
Fun.
because I know that when I eat certain foods, they are certain foods are characterized also in those doshas as well.
Yes.
And when I was younger in my 20s, anytime, and I love peaches, but peaches is a vata food,
Sure.
right? It's like, so when I would eat peaches, it would be the same type of effect as if I had a cup of coffee and I would be
Sure.
wired. And it's that time.
Right.
So I knew I actually met my Ayurvedic teacher in my early 30s. I think I just had given birth to my second, to Mikey, and I was like 31. So I met him like I was 31, 32 years old. And it was, even though with the two children, I was still like trying to have, what that dosha is, you're born with that dosha, just like that
Right.
individual like dharma that we have, we're born with it. It isn't something that you grow into, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So he was helping me during that time of, because my children are more, they were, because they appear to be kapha, but they're
Yeah.
so not kapha. They're both vata,
Hmm.
even their mind, even
Yeah.
their mind. So he was giving me, he said, you have to stop eating the peaches. You need to eat oatmeal. And I'm like, oatmeal? I don't eat
Yeah.
oatmeal. And just that tiny, tiny, tiny tweak of
Hmm.
having oatmeal in the morning, I was able to finish
Right.
tasks. That was unbelievable.
I know.
That was
Ayurveda
that.
can be that simplistically magical. And that's what I love about it. You can do
Yes.
one thing, and all of a sudden life changes. One thing, like the timing of your eating, the timing of your
Yes.
sleep, the one food you add to your life, like one self-care ritual. It doesn't have to be overly complex. That's so cool.
Really cool. But tell me, what are some aspects of Ayurveda that you wish that people would know?
I think Ayurveda is so much of it's a powerful science that you can leverage in different ways through the different like decades of your life. So for example, you were talking about how I'm entering a new phase with my health, and all of a sudden I'm having to pay attention to it and make adjustments. Every decade,
Mhm.
we're going to have to make adjustments. Why are we assuming that we should all feel like we did in our 20s? Yeah, we can have that level of energy. We
I
can
want
have
to. I want to.
I want the energy. I want the clarity.
Yes.
But I can also
Yes.
acknowledge that the body is going through some years, like it's going through something. So if I can adjust to it with sympathy and love, then I can continue to have that energy that I crave. And what I've discovered for myself is I've been using the Ayurvedic lifestyle, living this since my 20s. I'm now in my 40s. So 20 years in, I am having to make some shifts in how I exercise, how intensely I put myself through things at the gym, if I want to maintain my energy level for this kind of work for teaching. But the clearer our gut health is, the clearer our chakras are, the clearer our mental and emotional health is, because we have this powerful, cleared up gut health, then the clearer the channel is. And that's really a powerful understanding that I wouldn't have had 20 years ago, but I can have it now, that as we want our intuition to be so clear in guiding us, as we want that
Mhm.
voice to tell us truth from the inside, my channel is that much clearer because every other impediment is out of the way. Because health is just awesome. Inflammation is gone. Metabolism is churning and burning beautifully. I don't have to worry about my body. My mind is clear and joyful. I don't have like impediments in my mind. The whole connection is clearer. And so now I'm finally entering like a golden year. Everything I want is happening. I'm like, okay, I want everything magnetized to me, all the seeds I have planted. And then it just comes. And so I really would love that people understood that Ayurveda is not just the self-care rituals or the gut health or
Right.
the doshas. It's the combination of those brought together to give you the treasure chest, and then you get to go take it where you want to go, which is cool.
It's beautiful. It's like this inversion technique. It's from the inside out. You're creating your exterior by the clarity of the balance of the mind, body, spirit. And it just, that vibration just kind of like it has this ripple effect.
Yeah.
And you get, and not even just a ripple effect, it feels like it's almost like an expansion that
Yeah.
you then get to see all those other aspects of life. It's
Correct.
being in the now, that's enjoying
Yeah.
living.
Exactly. And I have to say,
Yeah,
life
it's
is that
beautiful.
much more delicious. Like life, if you're so present to it and you have the ability
Mhm.
to practice presence at that level, then you know what? Yes, we're working towards abundance, we're working towards whatever our individual goals are. But I find that, especially as a Pitta dosha, I'm working on my race towards whatever I'm working towards. But I'm that much more present and able to like chomp into the peach of joy that life is at a different
Yeah,
level than ever before, which is cool.
absolutely. So why is circadian rhythm so important? I mean, being married to a husband who has traveled, maybe like he was always traveling, maybe 6 months out of the year, not consecutive, but he was always in different parts of the world. He was in Asia and Italy and whatever. And when he would come to the States, like it was always, he never knew what time zone he was in. And I have to say, it really affected his gut health.
Sure.
It did. He couldn't, and even though he's very Vata, um, it was very difficult the only time when I think he really was able to center down was when we had a global shutdown. And
Sure.
then all of a sudden that not so elegant interruption or something that perhaps us as a collective needed to wake up, he realized, oh wow, my my internal and my external was so out of whack. And there was like there were broken parts of the circuitry. And I
Sure.
he didn't realize that it was almost like a slowing aging process in that sense. So this is what happened in my life on a personal, in his life, in his, of what I saw, that was my gut feeling. I said, my God, his circadian rhythm is all over the place. But can you explain this in scientific terms of why it's so important to maintain harmony and balance, and how those two are correlated with Ayurvedic science?
Absolutely. So Ayurveda always taught us that nature and Mother Nature is what we came from and what we're going to go back to. And so, if we are born of Mother Nature, our job as beings on
Mhm.
earth is to be in resonance and harmony with nature. And more people are hearing about the Schumann resonance, these resonances and these frequencies that exist on this planet. And our ideal state of being for us to be in an alpha state is to be at that frequency. And yet, there are so many things that will pull us out of being in that frequency and in the right harmony. Some things like
Mhm.
our cell phones will do that. The EMF that comes at us from all the devices, from the Wi-Fi and the printers and everything that we have. Another is the fact that we're never grounding. We're never walking on Mother Earth barefoot to connect with her. Another is that we live in boxes. My office is in a box. It's in a building. My house is a box. So if we're always inside of boxes, we're never connecting to the sun, to the moon, to Mother Earth. And so circadian rhythm is a concept where we have chronobiology. Every cell of our body is tied to the sun and moon and nature's rhythms. In the past, we would always rise with the sun, do our work for the day, a lot of it outdoors. So we would be receiving the sun and the signals of the day. We would be exerting ourselves physically. So we'd be creating that sleep pressure. And then by the time we reach nighttime, once it was dark, we would release all the work from the day. We wouldn't be on devices. And all of a sudden we'd go to sleep on time with the rhythms of nature, and the moon, the cycles could clear us at night. So we were rejuvenated, our cells were cleared, the lymphatic system properly. The problem is we're doing the opposite. We are on blue light devices, we're on them right until we go to bed. We're not honoring bedtime as the most important health habit we have. We're not sleeping 10 to 2 according to the circadian clock. So there's a couple of tips there. Just sleeping 10 to 2 doubles the power of your sleep to rejuvenate you and clean and clear all inflammation and our lymphatic system.
What do you
That's a
mean
big
10 to
deal.
2? What does that mean? Like 10 o'clock
10
to
p.m. to
2,
2 a.m.
and what, get up at 2 a.m.? Or
No.
because
Keep sleeping.
like,
So like go to sleep by
okay,
10 p.m. Honor 10 p.m. as a sacred
yes,
bedtime to give
okay.
yourself the highest and best good, because pitta is highest in the sky from 10 to 2. So we have the power of our pitta dosha at that time to
Mm.
clean, to clear, I literally think of it as little garbage trucks that come out at night, and they clear our mind and they clear our heart and they clear our digestive system, and all the toxins and pollutants and negative thoughts and feelings from the day are all collected and then evacuated in the morning. But if we don't give ourselves 10 to 2, if we stay up till 11, 12, 1, because we say we're night owls, all of a sudden you're giving up your
So
body's time
true.
slot to clear inflammation and to clear anything out of the body. And so really a big part of my job is showing people how to use Ayurvedic sleep rituals, sleep hygiene habits, and tools to really invest in higher quality deep sleep. And then of course, sleeping till 2 till 6 would be ideal. Get your 7, 8, or 9 hours based on your dosha and what your body needs individually. And when you rise, then we have that opportunity to do the Ayurvedic self-care rituals. We have an opportunity to get out in the sun and immediately align our circadian rhythm to the sun and then begin our day. And a lot of times I fix people's sleep problems through exercise. I'm like, you guys need to work more. You need to be a little more active if
Move
you
your
want to invest.
body.
Yeah, you have to move the body. Again, harmony, rhythm. So the whole day, if you lead your life in rhythm, your whole
Yeah.
life will change, because all of a sudden you are working with nature. She is supporting you. You're not working against nature, which is an uphill battle and causes dis-ease.
That is so true. Speaking to into the Schumann resonance, For those that don't know, I'll explain a little bit about that. The Schumann resonance is the Earth's heartbeat. That's Gaia's heartbeat. Gaia is the energy inside this beautiful planet that we live on, that we're inhabiting on, that isn't really or truly our home, but it's a place where we're here that we must respect because this is our home at this moment in time. And this Schumann resonance, we are vibrational beings. It resonates at 7.83, right? It's 7.83 megahertz, right? Like
Yes.
that type of, and that is equivalent to the energy of where we are when we're in that alpha state. The alpha brainwave state is where, as a hypnotherapist, is when we are in high beta, which is like probably a lot of pizzas are like beta, 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 right? We're alert, we're awake. When we're about to go to sleep, right? This is part of the circadian rhythm as well. There's certain hormonal shifts that happen, right? With the cortisol, you can
Yes.
help me with that. Like, what happens with those levels?
Well, we release melatonin. So our job from
Melatonin.
6 to 10 is to ease into bedtime so that at 10, that
Aha.
melatonin release will support us to go to sleep and stay asleep through the night.
Very interesting. It's like almost like a baby that if you miss that window, in a sense, suddenly that's the witching hour because you
Exactly.
missed. Yeah. Oh my God. So that's the same thing with us. So the Schumann resonance is as vibrational beings, that alpha state, when the resonance of Mother Earth that rises, we feel this on a collective. There is I think you're muted. There you go. We feel this on a collective. And recently, because the whole entire world is going through an ascension process globally, the Schumann resonance is rising and rising and rising and rising. Like it's, I think one day it went up to 79. I think that was on July 7th, like something crazy, really, really high. And at that moment I was getting so many emergency session emails of people that were feeling like high anxiety. How, as an Ayurvedic practitioner, as a doctor of Ayurveda, how do you manage people's dosha in conjunction with the Schumann resonance, when sometimes right now it's just a very, I don't want to say wacky time, like wacky seems like that there's something wrong, but it seems like we're going through an ascension process. So it's affecting our physical beingness as well.
Yeah, I'm seeing it a lot because in my own self, I'm seeing so many fluctuations and I laugh because I'm like, what's happening? Like I hold ritual and rhythm as the primary way that I live my life. And so when
Mm.
I see these like flexes happening, I'm like, oh, okay, what is that? Something must be happening. And I will just hold back that day and I will constantly drop my schedule down if needed to accommodate what's happening. Because if something is loud from the universe and I'm feeling it in my body and intuitively my intuition saying, don't do this or yes, do this, I listen. And I think that's the power of Ayurveda. Once you understand your dosha, once you understand your best
Mhm.
circadian clock and rhythm to live by, once you have that mindful medicine chest of herbs and spices that you can kind of play with, I look at my supplement tray every day and I'm like, what am I taking today? This is what I need. And my own intuition tells me very clearly. Same thing with food. We can use food as such a powerful tool, especially in relation to our doshas. So as a pitta, I will make like cold water splash of lemonade. And that's medicine to me. That is
Mhm.
me cooling the volcano down a couple notches so I can stay a balanced, kind mother and manager of the household. So it's
That
it's
I
interesting.
love that.
I have a lot of tools.
How old are your kids?
My kids are 9 and 12.
Yeah,
So
this is definitely keep that supplement tray there for a while because it's, they're going to be going through their own changes as well. Do you
correct.
can kids supplement as well?
Absolutely. Kids have the ability. I use hinka pani. I'll make teas and tinctures. If I can't convince them to take
Hmm.
something, I just open my medical grade supplements onto my tray of food for them. And I'll say, Mommy's going to feed you today. And then I will just make sure that their probiotic, their turmeric, and everything is scooped into the Indian food that I feed them. So to me, it's a non-negotiable that we are consistently reducing inflammation and we're consistently building our probiotic health. But when the pandemic started, I literally sat there and I thought, what am I going to do? Like, how do I ensure that this time period doesn't leave a, PTSD level mark on these children? And my intuition said, you need to move in nature every day. And so every day we went to the park, I made everyone take off their shoes and we walked in nature. And that one habit, I think above any other habit we did, was the one that kept us healthy. I never got sick. When they got sick, were over it in a day. It was such a powerful way to unwind and then reweave the positive that was needed to hold us in our own energetic bubble away from the chaos. And so I still use that tool now. I say, you know what? We have to move in nature. Mother Nature heals all.
Absolutely. And it's, you're blessed that you live in a warmer environment. I live in New York, so it wasn't so easy. And
Sure.
my kids both being athletes, it was so difficult because they have so much vata energy, and when it was going inside and they weren't able to let that out outside to breathe in fresh oxygen, that was detrimental on so many levels. Like, even though we have a treadmill and we have certain gym equipment, it's still not the same of it being out there with fresh, with sun and oxygen and water and being on Mother Earth. That's, you're 100% right. So tell us a little bit about the products that you have, and um, what is it, like tinctures and aromatherapy? Like, I want to learn more all about those type of products and how it can benefit us, and how one can even like be in contact with you to get them.
Sure. So about 7 years ago, I created fusionary formulas. And my goal there was, can I create a turmeric formula that's so potent that all of orthopedic medicine, rheumatologies, all these professions that are giving us NSAIDs and different solutions could actually reach into Ayurvedic medicine and give us Ayurvedic solutions. And so that's what I built. And so I'm constantly pushing for more clinical science, more published science around curcumin when it's given in the right potency and the right form, and the impact it can have for joint pain, for inflammation, for autoimmune, for all these different issues that we struggle with. So I have a turmeric formula, I have an inflammation relief formula, and those are used by everyone who wants prevention or who wants to really stop inflammation in their systems. Then, because sleep is so important for us to clear our inflammation, I created a sleep tea, deep sleep formula, which is a tincture, because I really want us to invest in having perfect sleep that lets us wake up rested and rejuvenated and healthy. But I also want that sleep to be the investment we make in clearing that inflammation and our brain being fueled and cleared for the next day. And then from there, I got a lot of requests for menopause. So I made a hormone rebalance tea, and that's become very popular. Next week or this week, we're launching gummies, which I wanted to create a D3K2. I wanted to create a B complex. So anytime I see an issue that's really affecting all of our community, I look for what are the herbs and solutions I can use to win. But what we're most known for is the turmeric formula. And I made a special code for your community so people can find
Oh, thank
fusionary.
you,
Yeah,
Shivani. Thank
of
you. What
course.
is that?
So people can visit fusionaryformulas.com and the code is Janet Namaste and they'll get 15% off.
Oh, that's so sweet of you. Thank you so much. We're going to put that in the show notes. We'll put
Awesome.
down all your contact information, and that's very, very generous of you.
Of
Thank you.
course.
Thank you. But wow, we are just so grateful for all the knowledge that you shared with us today, and
Thank you.
for this. It's really a wealth of knowledge. Just when you think there's always so much more than you could dive into, and we're just ever changing beings. Like, maybe of what worked for us for a certain time, and now we just have to tweak it. And utilizing Ayurveda, what I realized from my own personal is when I cleansed out the gut and body and removed the inflammation, as intuitive as I am, I you become even more just your intuition becomes more in discernment with what it is that your body is telling you something, you listen and you're taking action. And that for me is one of the gifts that Ayurveda has given me as well, and
Absolutely.
a chance to be forgiving when I go from 0 to 100 like a Tasmanian devil. That's like my
Yes.
nickname, what my husband calls me is Infernado, half inferno and half tornado, and then I just crash, you know. But Ayurveda has been such a gift, and your knowledge as well. So thank you so much for what you do, and I hope to have you back on the show again and sharing more knowledge.
Definitely. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I love the opportunity to share, and it's an honor to enjoy your work as well. So thank you.
Thank you, my angel. Until next time, everyone. Namaste.
Namaste.